But let's get into the Red River rivalry preview and prediction. Texas comes into this game undefeated. Oklahoma comes into this game with one loss. The Sooners are 4-1, 1-1 in the SEC, the one loss being to the Tennessee Volunteers. Texas is a favorite by 14.5 points. The over-under here is 49. Now, Texas has lost 7 of the last 10. Oklahoma is won 7 of the last 10. They've won 17 of the last 24. 9 of the last 10 have been decided by 8 or less points. This is always a close game, and I'm excited to talk about it. Obviously, let's get into some of these stats. Oklahoma on the offensive side of the ball averages 28.6 points per game. That is 52nd in the country. They average 4.5 yards per play, and this is really bad, guys. I did not realize how bad this was going to be. That is 117th in the country yards per play. The third down conversion rate is 125th in the country, 26.47%. Yards rushing, 3.7 yards per rush, 94th in the country for the Oklahoma Sooners. They complete 60.99% of their passes, so basically 61%. That is 70th in the country. Yards per pass is 6 yards per pass, which is 113th in the country. And they allow 9.03% sack percentage, which if you drop back 100 times, you're allowing 9 sacks. That is 111th in the country. Turnover margin, they are actually very good here. 1.6 turnover margin per game. So you're almost winning that battle by 2-0 basically every time you step on the football field. That is 5th in the country. Very good. Time of possession, which one of the keys of the game, we will get into that in a second. They only get 44.7% of the time of possession. That is 115th in the country. So on the offensive side of the ball, this team is not very good. They are very challenged, especially with the wide receivers out and the young quarterback now in. I do like Michael Hawkins. I think he's going to be good. He's not good right now. He just isn't. Defense, very good. 16 points per game, 12th in the country. Yards per play given up, 4.5. That is 19th in the country. Third down percentage, 30.26% given up. That is 17th in the country. This is a great defense, top 20 in almost all key statistics. Yards per rush is 2.6, which is 8th in the country. Completion percentage allowed is 61.15, which is 66th in the country, and they are much better versus the rush than the pass. Yards per pass, 7.9. That is 83rd in the country. Sack percentage, 11.47%. That is elite. 11 sacks out of every 100 dropbacks. That's really good stuff there. 11.5 basically. That is 4th in the country. Like I said, this team is very good offensively. Defensively, they can be gotten in the secondary because your front 4, your front 7's getting home. It's the secondary that's not able to hold up, and you already lost Kendall Dolby, who is your cheetah position, which is very, very unique for them. It's kind of like Jahdae Barron on our defense, so that is a big loss for them. Now let's get into Texas. Texas averages 45 points per game, which is 5th in the country. They average 7.2 yards per play, which is 9th in the country. Third down percentage is 51.67% of the time they convert on third down. That is 7th in the country. So again, kind of the opposite of Oklahoma, elite on the offensive side of the ball. Yards rushing per attempt, 5 yards per rush, 34th in the country. And we talked about this, Texas fans. I have a video on this channel. That is the weakness of the team, the yards per carry. We do not get enough push from the offensive line. It has not been good enough as well with the running backs. That has to get better to win a national championship. I don't really think it has to be much better to win versus Oklahoma, but we will see. Completion percentage, 71.43%. That is 6th in the country, and 10 yards even per pass, which is 9th in the country. They only give up 3.01% sack rate. Again, 3 out of 100 dropbacks is a sack. That is 25th in the country. If that stays the same, that'll be a top 10 statistic at the end of the year. This is where Oklahoma does way better than Texas. They create more turnovers, and they seem to take care of the ball just a little bit better, too. I think it's honestly more creating turnovers on the defensive side. Texas is only 0.4, so they're not even creating half a turnover a game more than the opponent. Time of possession is 49.88% of the time they hold the ball, which is 75th in the country. Now let's get to the defensive side of the ball, which is still very good. Opponent's points per game for Texas, 7, 2nd in the country. Opponent yards per play for Texas, 3.6, 2nd in the country. Opponent third down percentage, 27.78% allowed, 10th in the country. Opponent yards per rush, 3.2, 13th in the country. Opponent's completion percentage, 58.62%, or 58.52%, sorry, 41st in the country. Opponent yards per pass, 4.5. That is number 1 in the country. The secondary, I don't care who you played, they have made a turnaround. You can see it on the film. They're much better than they have been in the past. And honestly, it wouldn't have mattered for this Oklahoma passing attack. Sack percentage, 8.16. That is 26th in the country. They are top 30 in every meaningful statistic on the defensive side of the ball. Now, keys to the game, because we had some games last week that I'm going to point to that I think Oklahoma should follow the blueprint of. Actually, let's jump into a couple players first before we get into that. Michael Hawkins on the season, 23 of 37, 62.2%, 310 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. He also averages 3.6 yards per carry and a touchdown. He's very dynamic. He had almost 22 miles per hour versus Auburn. Definitely can get out of the pocket and make plays. It's still to be seen whether he can get out of the pocket and create with his arm. I think it's more of get out of the pocket and create with his legs right now. Javonte Barnes, this is where Oklahoma's really struggled, guys. Javonte Barnes, 57 carries, 199 yards, 3.5 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns. Not good. Taylor Tatum is your best running back right now. 18 carries, 116 yards, 6.4 yards per carry. One thing freshman running backs tend to do is fumble the ball, though. And I wouldn't mind him fumbling in this game. He is coming back from injury as well, so that's going to hurt. Gavin Sawchuk has been abysmal. 18 attempts, 33 yards, 1.8 yards per carry. Receiving, Deion Burks is back. That will help out in this game, especially because you had really no receiving threats at all other than him, because Nick Anderson, Jaden Gibson, and those guys have been hurt. Deion Burks, 26 receptions, 201 yards, 7.7 yards per catch, and 3 touchdowns. Bauer Sharp at tight end, 18 receptions, 159 yards, 8.8 yards per catch, and 1 touchdown. And then Brennan Thompson, our old friend, him and his mom, Bonnie, 10 receptions, 106 yards, and 1 touchdown. The speedster can definitely get over top of you. We'll see how they use him in this game. Danny Stutzman is a stud. I said that going into the year. He's a fantastic linebacker, one of the 5 or 6 best in the country. 40 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. He's been very good. And then R. Mason Thomas is having a spectacular year. I'm not even going to hate. He's been having a great year. 5.5 sacks already through 5 games. Texas definitely needs to slow him down off the edge. Now that we've gone through some of their statistics, I'm not going to get into Texas statistics because most of you guys on this Texas channel should know that, honestly, and I like to talk about the opponent more than Texas. Let's talk about the keys to the game. So I'm going to point to these games: Mississippi State versus Texas, Vandy versus Bama, and Kentucky versus Ole Miss. I think time of possession is going to be huge for Oklahoma in this game. Oklahoma is not winning this game if the time possession is even. Not going to happen at all. They have to control the ball. They have to keep the ball away from Texas on the offensive side of the ball. Mississippi State actually had a very good blueprint. They won the time of possession 35-25, and at minimum, that is what Oklahoma is going to have to do. Oklahoma is going to have to possess the ball 35 minutes to Texas 25. If that does not happen, they are not winning this game. If this is 33-27, they're not winning this game. If this is 32-28, they're not winning this game. If Texas possesses this ball more than Oklahoma, this is going to be a rout. It is not going to be close. They have to possess the football. And another game, Vanderbilt versus Bama, 42 minutes to 18 minutes. Kentucky versus Ole Miss, 40-20. The closer you can get to 40 minutes for Oklahoma, the closer this game is going to be. This will be a football game if looks like 38-22 or 39-21 or 40-20. This will be a good football game. QB running game. Last year, Dylan Gabriel destroyed Texas running the football, and it wasn't designed runs. He was able to break the pocket, break contain, and get out and run. This time, I do think Texas, they know Michael Hawkins. There's some game film on it. All Sark has to do is put up that first run versus Auburn and be like, we have to contain this guy in the pocket. That wasn't really the game plan going into the game last year. It's going to be this year. Dylan Gabriel had 115 yards rushing. He actually had the most yards rushing any one player did versus Texas last year, I believe. It was either him or Harrison Whaley from Wyoming. It was one of those two guys. I think it was Dylan Gabriel, though. So Michael Hawkins, got to contain him in the pocket. If I'm Oklahoma, you got to get, I would say, 8 to 12 design runs versus this Texas team for Michael Hawkins, where it's purely keeping the ball in his hands to run the football. That has to be part of the game plan. Texas has to do a good job of keeping in the pocket. Limit explosive plays. Both sides. Texas loves to hit the deep ball, especially this year. They've been doing that way more successfully this year. Oklahoma has to keep them in front. And when they do, they have to limit the points in the red zone to field goals. Key to the game. For the Texas side, I don't think Oklahoma is going to be able to put multiple 10-plus play drives together and score touchdowns. Do I think they might be able to score field goals? Yes. Field goals are not winning this game. You cannot allow explosive plays that lead directly to touchdowns. You can't have a 55-yard touchdown pass to Deion Burks. You can't have a 40-yard run by Michael Hawkins for a touchdown. If they have a 35, 40-yard run and it doesn't end in a touchdown, I'm fine with that. But you have to limit the explosive plays that end in touchdowns. For Oklahoma, you just have to limit the explosive plays, period. You have to make Texas drive the length of the field. And then again, this will kind of plays into the time possession. Third down. Very key in this game. The problem is Oklahoma is not good at converting on the offensive side on third down, and they're not good at stopping on third down. So I don't know how that's going to work out in this game. Mississippi State, again, in the Texas game, 8 of 17. Vanderbilt, 12 of 18 versus Alabama. Kentucky, on the other hand, was only 4 of 16, but Ole Miss was 1 of 10. So you can be that bad on third down if you're Oklahoma on offense, but you're going to have to be outstanding on the defensive side of the ball if that's the case. I don't see that happening. Texas is not going to go 1 of 10 on third down. Just not going to happen with Steve Sarkisian in the veteran offensive line and veteran quarterback play. Now, if Arch somehow has to come into this game, all these bets are off the table, and it's going to be very interesting. But with Quinn, there's no chance we're going 1 of 10 on third down. To me, guys, I just think I read you the stats. I broke down the keys to the game. For all the keys to this game, Oklahoma does not do well. So I know this is just a 1-game sample size. If this game was played 100 times, just like last year, I think Texas last year is more 60-40. These teams were way more even last year. I think it's a 75 out of 100 times Texas wins this football game. These teams are not even. Vegas sees that. I think everyone sees that. If you're an Oklahoma fan and you think you're going to just come in here and just beat us easily, I think that's crazy. Like I said, the keys of the game, you have to win time of possession. If they don't win time of possession, they're not winning this football game. Last year, too, you guys got to realize they won the turnover battle 3-0. That's another key I guess I should throw in there. They have to win the turnover battle or at least break even. If Texas wins the turnover battle, you're not winning this football game. You barely won last year with a better team versus I would say about the same Texas team or slightly worse. And you won the turnover battle 3-0, and you had to go down and score on the last one of the last possessions of the game to win that game. So I just don't see it, guys. I'm going to say Texas wins this game 37-21. I think it's 30-21. I think Texas scores a late touchdown in the last 5-6 minutes to pull away 37-21. I think Oklahoma tries to score at the end, but they're either turned away on fourth down or turn the ball over, and then Texas runs it out. And I think Quinn Ewers is going to have a big game. Last year, if you get rid of literally the first quarter, he was almost perfect. He completed 19 passes in a row. He had a really good game. Just came out and played terrible. And I think that's another key, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Oklahoma, come out and do what you did last year in the beginning. You punched us in the mouth. We were not ready. If it's the opposite this year and Texas is the aggressor and punches in the mouth, and we win the time of possession, and we win the turnover battle, we're going to win this game by 3 or 4 touchdowns. It will not be close. Oklahoma has very little margin of error this game. I think Texas could lose the time of possession barely. Like if it's 34-26 and Oklahoma has 1 turnover and we have 2, I still think we win this game. It'd be closer than that, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think the time of possession, you guys might win like 35-25 like Mississippi State, but the problem is I think you're going to turn the ball over more. And I think you're going to have to be selective if you do want to use tempo. Mississippi State also did a very good job with that. They did it on 3rd down and short and 4th down and short. Everywhere else, it was slow as hell. They did not try to run up tempo at all. It was very slow and methodical until you got into 3rd and short, 4th and short. Then they hurried up in the line, snapped it, caught Texas off guard, and got the 3rd or 4th down. I think Oklahoma's going to have to do that too because they are not very good on 3rd and 4th down. So it's going to be very interesting. That is my prediction. Those are my keys to the game. What do you guys have to say? Hawkins is not fast. Benjamin, come on, brother. He is fast. He ran 21 miles an hour, 21 and a half miles per hour. He's actually clocked at the highest speed that Kyler Murray ever reached. So he is fast. Exactly. I agree with that. They can't run the ball at all. That's my biggest concern. And that's why I think their only way to run the ball is going to be a lot of Hawkins design runs, or Taylor Tatum just has the game of his life. OU also cannot score in the red zone, no pushover whatsoever. Yeah, I agree. My issue is I've seen this before, and I've seen the other team win. I saw in 2015 a Texas team that went 5-7 beat Oklahoma that made the playoffs. I saw a team last year in Oklahoma that went 10-2 with a very easy schedule beat Texas. When Texas made the playoff and was one play away from a national championship game. So this game is weird, man. It really is. OU O-line is bad. Texas is going to get to the QB early and often. I do tend to agree with that. Hummus Hero, I think it's going to be I honestly think both teams are going to be able to get to the quarterback a little bit in this game. I just think Quinn Ewers under pressure is going to be able to deliver the ball better than Michael Hawkins. I think Texas defense is going to be able to create some turnovers off of Michael Hawkins' mistakes. And I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball enough effectively to be able to keep the time of possession in their favor. And that's why I think Texas is going to win this game. No way OU sniffs 20 points. Mississippi State scored 13. They can score 20 points. I could be wrong on that. And by the way, I want to be wrong on that. I want Texas to win this game like they did 2 years ago, 49-0. But it's going to be a very interesting game. I'm really excited to watch it. It's always one of my favorite weeks of the year, and I really appreciate you guys being here.